If you're a subscriber to this channel, then you already know who this man is. This is Mark Forkner. He was the only Boeing employee charged with a crime in the wake of the entire MAX program disaster. Forkner became a poster boy for Boeing's failures when hundreds of his sarcastic, boasting emails and text messages were released to the public. We were all rightly outraged at first to see Boeing's chief technical pilot of the new MAX program brag about using Jedi mind tricks to persuade world regulators into removing any mention of the new MCAS systems from training manuals, and also getting them to agree that simulator training on the new MAX jet wasn't necessary. But then, after the initial shock wore off, you'd have to ask yourself, if Forkner was truly engaging in illegal and unethical behavior, then why would he leave such a public paper trail leading right back to him? And then when you see the text where Forkner himself realized that he may have been used as a patsy to push through Boeing's agenda, when he told his assistant Patrick Gustafson, "So I basically unknowingly lied to regulators," then you could see the light go off in his head. But Forkner's realization came too late. Well, now, as it seemed all hope was lost for Forkner or a real prosecution of those Boeing executives truly responsible for the disaster, now comes news that a group of FAA employees have reached out to the United States Department of Justice to tell them that you have the wrong guy. That's right, the FAA is telling the U.S. Department of Justice that Mark Forkner is a patsy and a scapegoat, and the FAA has put the DOJ on notice, telling them they need to right this wrong and bring the real criminals to justice. That's next on Maximus. Continued happy holidays and greetings everybody, Maximus here. So I have had a lot of fun at the expense of Mark Forkner and his juvenile emails for the past few years now. But I'm really beginning to feel sorry for this guy, because the mighty U.S. government seems to be trying to blame the entire Boeing MAX debacle on one guy and some silly emails, and that's just not fair. Bloomberg is reporting this week that court filings reveal that Federal Aviation Administration officials have approached U.S. prosecutors to warn them that the lone person charged with a crime after the two fatal Boeing MAX crashes is being made a scapegoat. According to an email and a presentation given to prosecutors by the FAA employees, these FAA officials are telling the DOJ that statements by the Department of Justice after it indicted Mark Forkner, Boeing's former chief technical pilot, last October, contained many errors in fact. They said the case's focus on Forkner's actions in the wake of the crashes is incorrect and misguided. These unusual public assertions by FAA officials, which could substantially undercut the prosecution's case, were detailed in a motion by Forkner's lawyers filed in a Texas court asking a judge to order access to these FAA officials as potential witnesses in the case. One unnamed FAA official approached prosecutors on October 26th, just 12 days after Forkner was indicted, to request a meeting where he told them that Forkner is indeed a scapegoat and should not be charged. These officials went so far as to create a PowerPoint explaining their position. In a PowerPoint presentation by FAA officials, with the agency's logo prominently attached to each page, they say the alleged smoking gun evidence wasn't relevant to the case, and Forkner's role in developing pilot training for the MAX played no role whatsoever in the FAA's decision to certify the plane or the design errors that led to the crashes. This new information now throws uncertainty into the Forkner case and the narrative of the 737 MAX situation. It also comprises some of the most detailed explanations about what U.S. regulators believe went wrong in the 737 MAX's approval process. Both MAX crashes were triggered in part by MCAS failures that caused the jets to automatically nosedive repeatedly. In both cases, pilots didn't perform a procedure that would have disabled the errant system, and they eventually lost control of the planes. However, it was late in the design of the plane that Boeing engineers altered the system to make it push the plane's nose down more aggressively, but failed to disclose the changes to the FAA. However, this year Boeing struck a sweetheart $2.5 billion deal to resolve a 2-year criminal probe without blaming executives or hurting the company's finances. But the settlement only narrowly focused on the actions of Forkner and another former Boeing employee, Patrick Gustafson, who was involved in drafting pilot manuals. Still, in the end, the Justice Department said it found that the misconduct was neither pervasive across the organization, nor undertaken by a large number of employees or facilitated by senior management. And with that slap on the wrist, Boeing agreed to just a single criminal count for misleading U.S. regulators who certified the MAX's design and paid a $243 million fine. And that charge will be dropped after 3 years if Boeing complies with the terms of the deferred prosecution agreement. But the FAA officials who approached prosecutors said Forkner's role to develop pilot training materials and persuade the FAA and other regulators around the world to approve them weren't relevant to the plane's design faults and the accidents. Then this past November, an FAA official who apparently was helped by others at the FAA sent a PowerPoint presentation to prosecutors. However, none of the officials have been identified as of yet. The PowerPoint explained that there was a false narrative in the wake of the accidents that focused on whether the pilots had been properly trained on the system linked to the crashes. Forkner's only role was to gain regulatory approval for the training, but the FAA officials maintained that the real issue leading to the crashes were Boeing engineers' failures to recognize, or worse, admit that a single malfunctioning sensor on the plane could prompt such severe consequences. All the training in the world can't solve this non-compliance, they said in their presentation. The problem concerned an engineering issue that Mr. Forkner was neither qualified, expected, nor responsible for, the PowerPoint said. Any fault lies with personnel involved in the engineering, management, and certification. For their part, the FAA has so far refused to allow any current or former employees to officially become involved in the case. Forkner's legal team filed a motion in an attempt to gain access to them. The Justice Department turned over information about the officials' claims, including the PowerPoint, to Forkner's defense team, according to the motion. Well, kudos to the FAA for finally stepping up and doing the right thing. Too bad they didn't step in before so many lives were needlessly lost. Well, that's what I think. How about you? Is Mark Forkner a scapegoat? Let me know down below. Well, we're getting closer and closer to another Christmas and another New Year. Have you been able to find all the gifts you've been looking for? Well, hopefully YouTube will monetize this Max video. That'll be a nice gift. Speaking of gifts, I'd like to thank Robin Clapper for the fantastic gift of 10 coffees this holiday season. Thank you for that. And also Dennis, thank you as well for supporting the channel. And if you would like to support the channel, you can find the links in the description below. Well, if I don't manage to get out another video before Christmas this year, I'd like to wish you and your family a very happy holiday season and a happy new year as well. And I look forward to bringing you all along with me as we make this channel bigger and better in the coming new year. As always, on your way out, please be sure to like, subscribe, share, and ring the bell. And remember, leave the rubber on the runway and your troubles on the ground. And I will see you next time in the air. Yeah, this is Maximus.